Today I had to come and patch up a chimney. It wasn't that bad. It's still drying a little bit. I'm going to show you how I did it. Well, today this is my cousin's house, and they got to fix the roof up here. So they said that the chimney's no good, and I'm going to give you a speech about that pretty soon about filling around the flue. But there's nothing wrong with it. So the only thing I'm going to do is go around and fill these joints in, because a lot of these old timers or people would just use regular mortar. Regular mortar don't work. S-mortar has a little Portland in it. That's a lot better. So we're just gonna clean it up, and I'm gonna talk to you about it. So the only whole thing in a chimney, they put this mortar on. That we gotta get off. And the joints, see, the joints are all solid, but they all fall apart, just like the brickwork. Lime mortar doesn't work. It's good if you add some Portland to it. S mortar is almost okay, but you have to add Portland to it. Now, just to go around the joints, I'm using this rapid set mortar mix. I can only make a little bit, and it says mortar, but rapid set is not really mortar. That's just the way they say it, because they want you to think a certain way. Now, add a little sand in it to slow it down, because it's 4,000 pounds. It's too strong anyway, okay? Now I'm going to mix it up. Like that. That's what I want. I got my rapid set and I put it in the bucket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wet these joints a little bit, because like I said, that's what's going to make it stick. Then I just get my finger like that. Look at that. Perfect. Fill those joints in. Get painted with cement anyway. Just like that. I love when they tell me you can't use your hands. See? Look at this. Ain't fooling around. Just get the job done, that's all. You can tell when it's going in there. Just like that. It should work from the top down, of course. See, any kind of hole, fill it in. Down here, see it? Fill it in. No big deal. Put a little sand in that rapid set because it slows it down. I think rapid set is too hard sometimes for what we're doing. So that's it. See? Got it all jointed up already. And now we're going to talk about the top and filling around the flue. First thing, we wet the top of the chimney first. So, you didn't fill around the flue, and I am. And I'm going to tell you why. Yeah. I'm going to tell you why I fill around the flue. First of all the water's going down behind it. Then I'm going to take it down the chimney. It shows you what happens when you don't fill around the flue. We're in this old cellar, and the plumber looked there, and the flues were collapsed. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Now we are downstairs in a chimney, and the guy's cleaning the furnace, and look at where the flue liner is. It all fell down. You know why? Because all that stuff they're telling you about flue liners is nonsense. Here, you want to hold the light? And so they're no damn good. I don't care what anybody says. Now the thing is, show the light in there a little better. You gotta find out how bad it is. Make sure we have I'm going to stick my hand in there. All right.
You got bad news over there. What's that? Flue liner for us.
Yeah, flue liners are no good. They're garbage.
Dickie, what are we going to do now?
We're going to punt.
God almighty.
That's it. I can feel a draft. There goes your flue liners. Now how are we going to see what it looks like up in the
Need a mirror.
chimney? You got a mirror? Alright. I'm going to go in here. See if we got light up the top.
I can see light up the top.
Yep. Okay, we're clear. A mirror would be better. That's what happens with flue liners. Going around this flue so the water don't go behind there no more. So that's the top. I'm just going to sponge it off here. Just like that. No one's going to see this except the birds. I want to make a slurry paint for that chimney. Put a little water in it. I don't have to do this, but I'm going to put a little of this stuff in. I just think it's better, and it slows down the drying time of hair. I don't have a lot of faith in it, but I got enough to use it. Then I'm going to get Portland cement. I'm going to put 1, 2 in there, and then we're just going to mix it into a paint. We're going to make it into like a milkshake. Paint it up, that chimney. So this is still a little wet, but that don't hurt anything. We're going to paint this all with that Portland. Remember I told you it's all got to be wet. Wetting is the secret to making everything stick. So now we get our little mix. We start painting it. No big deal. Paint that up. It's all gonna match when we're done. Maybe, right? Fill in all those holes. Just like that. Paint the whole chimney. You don't have to plaster, like I said. Make sure you wet it first. Wetting is the secret to making it stick. It's not going to stick unless it's wet. Put it in there. Paint it. Now that was my cousin's chimney, but we're going to talk a little bit about chimneys. I don't know when it started, but I figure around the 1940s, because before then you would never see flues inside of chimneys. I think somebody down in California came up to the Northeast and came up and says, well, if you put these terracotta flues inside the chimney, it's going to be better. Now back in the old days, when I was born in the early 50s, everybody burned coal. We had 2 coal stoves in the kitchen. We had a big coal boiler down the cellar. And most of the chimneys around town were built out of brick, and there was no flue inside of it. And then they decided to start putting flues in. Well, if you're burning coal, you're okay, because they just build a little fire in the morning and coal really doesn't gather up in the flues. But the problem with flues is, see, when you put them in the chimney blocks like they got them, they got a lot of space around here. And when you're putting these chimney blocks in, there's no way to put the flue in without, what they usually do is lay a couple blocks and they put the flue in, and then they lay their other flue on top, there's no way you're not going to touch that flue. Now we're just going to use a brick for an example because I can't even pick these things up anymore. And when you're putting your brick down, it's going to touch the flue. So there's no way I've ever seen anybody put a flue in without getting the cement around it. They say you're not supposed to. Now if you build a chimney and you're building it for a wood burner, what happens is in the winter you'll get a chimney fire. And that chimney fire will get up in that flue, and it's so hot it busts the flue apart, and that's the pieces of flue that fell down inside the chimney. So what I like to do is I like to make sure I do fill around the flue. Now other people disagree with me, but if you don't fill around it, it's going to bust in pieces and fall down. Masonry chimneys or masonry chimneys are over with. And they're pretty much over with in the 1990s because what happens is they started to burn gas and they started to burn oil. And what happens is with the real efficiency, the only thing coming up in the chimney is moisture. So the moisture gets into the chimney, it freezes in the winter, and it falls apart. So I really don't build a masonry chimney anymore. I'll go and I'll patch some up and I'll fix some up. And that chimney we were working on, they redid that I'd say 25, 30 years ago. I could tell just by looking at it. They put different chimney blocks in on top and put the top. But the old days, the only thing they did was build it out of brick. And I'll tell you what, there was nothing wrong with them when they built it out of brick with no flues. When you put a flue on, they're not even all the time, and there's always a ledge, and if you don't fill around it, the creosote gets out in the chimney, it bleeds through the chimney, no good. So now, after saying all that, what they came out with now is metal flues, and these are stainless steel. And they have a stainless steel center here, then it's insulated here, then they have another stainless steel around here. Now we have a cabin, and these things will not fit in a chimney block, which is really pretty sad. So now for this example, let's just go to Conway Castle, where there's a chimney there that was built in 1283. That's 200 years before Columbus discovered America, and it's still there. This was an old fireplace one time in the castle. See that? You just used stones. There was no flues or nothing in those days. Now they built that chimney with no flues in it. They just built it with stone. And then they'd come out so far with the stone and they go around. Then about the 1940s they started using block. The 40s and 50s they started using flues. Nowadays you could build a chimney like that. We have a cabin up in the woods for hunting season, and we put one of these things down and we never had a problem. We look at it every year. If we had to, we could take this whole system out and put a new one in. So if I was going to build a new chimney, I would build it something like this. All my videos are food for thought. You know, you look at it, you consider it, make your decisions, talk to your inspector or whatever you want to do. But the old school chimneys are over with. I don't build them anymore. Let's take a look at when they built a brick chimney back in the 20s and 30s. They would build the brick so the chimney ends up in the center of the house.
I want to talk about the old way they built a chimney. Now I'm standing right here inside of an old cathedral-like building. When you get up there, you see where it went through the roof. The old timers would always demand that the chimney went to the center of the roof. So just so you see what's going on, it's going this way. The only thing holding these old brick chimneys up was this piece of wood until they laid it, and then the weight on top.
That was the way they built those old chimneys in those days. They put the brick in, and they'd even start the brick right in the middle of the house, right above the stove, right there. They'd start a chimney. They'd put some braces going down and build a chimney right up to the roof. I've seen it 100 times. I tore it down. I don't have no videos on it. You learn more tearing old stuff down than you build new stuff, because when you're tearing old stuff out, you get to see what worked and what didn't work. The only way I do a chimney anymore is if I could put a liner down it. If you put a liner down it, you're usually safe, whether it's gas or oil, or they got the power vents now. You could put the power vents out. So masonry has changed. Masonry's disappearing a little at a time. The only way I do a masonry chimney anymore is if I could put a liner down it like we did up our cabin, and then you never had a problem. Now my cousin's chimney I fixed. We patched it up, we fixed it. They were putting a new roof on, but they're going to have gas coming down the road pretty soon, so they're going to put a power vent out and eliminate that chimney. So that was an easy fix. So thanks for watching. I hope I said everything I wanted to. These videos are food for thought. I'll see you next video.